Hi there, Isha here, and welcome to this episode of Higher Life TV, where I'd like to explore what is self-esteem. And this is a really important theme in our lives, and one that we can really put out into the world in a very practical way. So self-esteem is essentially a relationship that we're having with ourselves, and it is in some ways really tied into self-love. The two are very much interchangeable. So the word esteem, because that's exactly what we're really focusing on here, isn't it? The self that we hold in esteem. And what is that holding in esteem? In its most basic sense, it's the self that we have a positive regard for, or at least in the society that we're living in today, that others hold in positive regard. Because the self that we usually tend to esteem is the one that we've been conditioned throughout our childhood to value, and that value has usually been assigned by other people, our parents, the culture, our education system, or any other influential factors in our life, the media, our gender, and so on. So self-esteem can be a very, very tricky place. On one hand, we would and naturally like to hold ourselves in positive regard, and I'm going to talk about why. And on the other hand, we can feel very confused about which self we are holding in positive regard. So when you hold yourself in positive regard, or an aspect of yourself, what you're actually doing is coming to value that part of yourself, because you're actually giving your attention and your energy to this self. You may be working hard at school or in uni or in your job to really support this version of yourself to do well in the world. So of course, if this self is a conditioned self, one that has been kind of shaped through other people's perspectives of who you might be or who you should be, this can be a difficult process. You can be giving your energy, your focus, your time, your attention to a self that you don't truly at your core align with. And that is a very normal state for most sort of materially comfortably well-educated people in the world. There is a disconnect between the self that they're working so hard to support and to improve and to better, and the true self, the self that really would come out naturally if they were more relaxed. So this self-esteem, it begins with that positive regard. It then becomes that value relationship, what you give value to. And what you give value to essentially is what you are loving in your life. Because love is your focus, your attention, and your energy. When you give your focus, your energy, and your attention to something inside yourself or outside yourself, that is the process of loving it. And I have done a video on that, I think in 2019, about really understanding that love is something that we give through our time, our focus, our attention, and our energy. So whatever you're choosing to give your time, energy, and attention to is actually what you're loving in your life. And this is really important when we think about self-esteem. So self-esteem can operate on three levels. The more superficial level is what self or what part of myself am I holding in positive regard? Or what part of myself have other people reflected back to me is something positive about myself, and I've got attached to that, and I'm giving my time, attention, and focus to that. If we go a little bit deeper, what we would say is, what part of myself do I truly value? Or what inequalities do I truly value? Or what skill set do I truly value? Again, what skill set am I valuing that I'm doing that because it's been expressed to me by others that this is something valuable, but I may not have checked in yet to see that I'm really aligned with that. And then we go to the core relationship of self-esteem, and that is, what do I hold sacred in my life? And self-esteem, self-love, this is a sacred process. It's a very intimate process. When we really cut to the truth of the matter, it's what part of myself do I truly honor? It is the priority in my life. And this is a question that most of us would not be able to answer. It's certainly a question that is not well explored in the collective, in modern society, and certainly throughout our childhoods. So understanding that sacred aspect of ourselves that essence nature, or what could be called our true nature, really is a journey of discovery that most of us have to take later in our life. And this is the work that I do in the world, and the work that I feel coaching really supports you in. That real commitment to discovering what is my authentic self, my true nature. What are these core virtues or qualities or archetypal patterns that are part of my natural way of being in the world? And what kind of routines and rituals do I have in place to truly support that true nature or that natural self to really thrive in the world? And when you are in that state of alignment with your natural self, that true self, and your routines and rituals and interactions with that part of yourself are very active and alive, what you'll find is a process of illumination, which is that true self will start to really illuminate through you in your life, and it will express itself outward into everything that you do. And this is where you get to make that real positive contribution to the world in an effortless and joyful way. So self-esteem, from the perspective of personal transformation, or the kind of coaching that I work with, is really discovering that true nature and really aligning yourself with that naturalness and coming to give your focus, your attention, your energy into supporting that version of yourself. And there we see that self-love really happening in real life. So self-love can often be seen as, having a massage or taking a day off, or saying positive affirmations to yourself, which is all valuable and worthwhile if it works for you. But if you really want to cut to the core and develop a really healthy self-esteem, what you would be wanting to do is to really step back from that more conditioned self, step back from that relationship of progress, of self-improvement, of betterment, which generally works with that more superficial conditioned self that relies on other people's recognition and appraisal. And that is essentially quite an unhealthy relationship you're having with yourself, and therefore an unhealthy version of self-esteem. And what I'd like to help you move towards is a very healthy, very enriching, very fulfilling relationship that is self-esteem, where you're honoring and holding sacred that natural self that has so much to offer the world. So I hope this has been helpful, getting another idea or looking at self-esteem from a different perspective and seeing how this can become a source of real enrichment in your life, as opposed to a source of stress and pressure and overwhelm, which is what that superficial self-esteem can really create in our lives. So this week, I'd really love to see you tap into that natural self. Spend some time considering, what do I do naturally? What do my friends come to me for? That it's an effortless way to interact with them and they're getting a real positive benefit out of that. Tap into those really beautiful testing systems out there, the VIA character strengths test or the archetypes test, and start to get a sense of, who is my true self? What kind of virtues are expressed through me naturally? So until next time, take care and love life.